Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Just Another Autism podcast. I'm Eileen Lamb, and today I am joined by Santa Wed. Santa Wed, right here next to me, is a sensory Santa who works for Cherry Hill, and what he does is really awesome. He is a sensory Santa who's trained in how to take care of autistic children. You know, it can be pretty overwhelming having your picture taken with Santa at the mall, and we want all families to be able to have that experience. So Santa Wed is gonna be talking with me today, and I'm super excited. Hi, Santa.
Well, hello, Miss Eileen. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. It's my pleasure to be here and talk a little bit about autism and about the Sensory Santa programs that we are very much involved in. Let me first tell you a little bit about how I became Santa Claus. Would you like to know how I became Santa Claus?
Of course.
Okay, well, you see, back in about 2006, I had a gentleman ask me, have you ever thought about portraying Santa Claus at a mall? And I thought, no, I don't think so. Of course, being Santa Claus, he had no idea who he was talking to. But anyway, he began to tell me about that. So through a long series of events, I wound up at portraying Santa Claus at a mall in the holiday season of 2006. And oh, what an experience it was. And I was brand new to it, a little bit of training, and had an idea, and I've always loved children. But I was there in the mall, and it's early in November, and it's kind of slow. So a family came in, a husband and wife, and they both had T-shirts on that said, "Today is my 50th wedding anniversary." And so that was pretty exciting. We took some photos. The missus went up to view those photos, and I turned to him, Earl, we'll call him. So tell me, 50 years together, what does it feel like having spent 50 years with your sweetheart? And he said, oh, it's been my goal. And here we are. And he had come wheeling up in a wheelchair, you see. And I asked him, how does it feel making it to this day? And he said, oh, it's been my goal to make it to this day because, you see, I've been diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. And I didn't go, oh, I'm so sorry. I told him, wow. So here you are now getting to achieve this goal and be here with your family, with your wife. So I then asked, as she came back, she said, let's go. And I said, no, wait, I have a few questions for you. So I asked them, tell me about your very first Christmas together before you were married, when you were married. And they began telling me how they lived in the top of this little garage over in an attic, a space above the garage. And it was a little small apartment, kind of a Charlie Brown Christmas tree and things like that. But they were young and in love, and they had such a wonderful time. And then I asked about children. Do you have children? And they pointed. They had 3 grown children there with them, celebrating with them that day. And so they began telling me how after their first child was born, they were in a little bit nicer apartment. And they had a nicer tree. They had their little baby, and they were so in love and having such a wonderful time sharing this experience with their children. And then I looked up, and I saw the children with tears rolling down their streaks, down their cheeks. And I realized something special has happened. I was able to help them go down memory lane. Their children heard stories they had never heard before. Off they went after a few minutes. About an hour and a half later, they came back. And they said, Santa, and Earl's leading the way in his wheelchair. We just had to come back and tell Santa Claus that the highlight of our day was the time we spent with our visit to Santa. And it was right then that I knew that I am Santa Claus. Yes, I have many helpers, but they each one have this mentality of this is something far beyond just what you would see on the surface. But there are some things, tangible things that make a difference in the lives of people every day in every one of these malls and other settings. So that also gives us a real heart for the Century Santa programs. And I know that was a lot of information, but I just want you to hear a little bit about who Santa is, who that Santa sitting in that chair is, and some of what's going through his mind.
And that was a beautiful story, so thank you for sharing with us. I'm wondering how you went from being a Santa, a regular Santa, to being a Santa who works with children with autism.
Well, they really do go together well, because you see some of the same things, your interactions with the children that are just normally coming through every day. You never know who's coming in the door anyway, so you're wide open, you're preparing for whatever comes. So that transition when we started about 10 or 12 years ago, as from my best recollection, started doing the Century Santa thing. And I must tell you, every Santa helper that I've ever talked to express how the Century Santa programs is one of their most favorite things to do. So as I have a son and a grandson that are both on the spectrum, of course, I've had a heart for helping those with particular needs. So making that transition was a very natural thing.
So Cherry Hill works with Autism Speaks on their Sensory Santa. I'm wondering how Cherry Hill is preparing Santas like you to be able to take care of those autistic children who come to the mall, and so they can also experience, sitting on Santa's lap and meeting Santa like neurotypical children.
Well, first, in my mind, having a background in teaching, the first thing that I do for myself is identify what is different, what struggles do these children face every day. And if we can identify what the struggles are, then we can modify what we're doing to address those and to meet those needs in a much more effective way. So, there's a couple of things. Century Santa, that pretty much spells it out. We're working with individuals that have very high levels of sensory awareness. Sound is a big deal. I would not be talking real loud like I am right now if I have sensory sensitive children with me. I would be a little softer, my tone is going to drop. So sound is a big deal. Whereas most people, their brain is geared where they can isolate a voice and carry on a conversation and block out all of what's going around. Maybe there's ambient noise over here. There's a Coke machine over here that's got a drone going. There are people talking over here, but we can zero in. But many of the children or individuals with autism have a very difficult time focusing on the one thing because they're hearing it all. So they tend to bring up their level to balance, so because they're hanging on, trying to stave off the anxiety. Okay, so understanding these things, if you understand what's going on, then we can address them and act appropriately. So, and what textures are another thing. Many they don't want to cuddle. They don't want a lot of touching. So, recognizing some of the signs that this is a struggle for them, is the first thing. Then how do we impart that into our Santas? Well, there are several ways. One, we'll have our Santas going through training, online meetings, video chats, where we're doing training, and we discuss everything from grooming to how to hold children, how to pose, and all of these things. But we have segments on different subjects, and the Century Santa is one of them. So we talk about them. What are some of the issues? How can you handle them? Also, we have social platforms that most Santas are involved in it in some degree, and most of them are very much so platforms to ask questions. And so these types of subjects come up, and Santas can interact and so forth. Another way of the teaching is conferences, and I do a lot of teaching at various Santa conferences. And there you have maybe a specific session that is dealing, that whole 45 minutes, dealing on a subject such as this one, which might be a very viable thing to think about, putting together some things. But so we have numerous ways. The conventions, you got one-on-one, and Santa's sharing stories and that sort of thing. So we have several ways that we do approach the training portion of what we do concerning Autism Speaks and the Century Santa programs.
That's a lot of training, and as a mother of 2 children on the spectrum, one of them is nonverbal. It means so much to me that you're doing this, you know. Every year I ask myself, should I take my children to the mall? Is it possible? And knowing that there is a sensory Santa makes a big difference. But I have a question for you. My oldest son is nonverbal. So do you have experience with children who are nonverbal? What would you do differently?
Yes, I do have experience, and it's really not as difficult as what a person would think. Let me tell you a little bit. I'm going to back up and tell you a little bit how the Century Santa program would work right down here at Barton Creek Square in Austin, Texas, where I will be this holiday season. It will happen on a Sunday morning before the mall opens. There will not be music playing through the PAs. The mall is not full of people. It's empty. So you have a quiet space that the auditory sensory is kept very, very intentionally, very low key. Even lighting is dimmed down some. So we have that atmosphere, which is first, that's a good place to start. It's early in the morning, it's fresh, it's not 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Many parents take children, and this is just every day, and they've been out shopping all day and went to eat, and now they went there, and now they stood in line for an hour and wonder why the children are a little bit cranky. Well, sometimes they are too, maybe, I don't know, but so we have it at a time early, the children are fresh, the sound is low key. Also, they're not standing in a line. We have stations set up like craft stations, tables, and they can do with crayons and colors or a little craft project or something, and they have a little snack or something. So here they are, they come in and they're sitting, the families are sitting around at the various tables, and then we have help that are out there. The mall personnel are just amazing. They come in, they provide all of these things, and then have each of the families all lined up in their paperwork, and they escort them when it's the family's turn. They come up and standing at the entrance. So now Santa is ready and waiting. This family is here, and so a lot of things are going on. One thing that's already going on is that I've already spoken with my photographers and said, look, we're going to take a little bit different approach this morning. Most of the time it's very structured. We come in, we sit, we pose, we take our pictures. But that's not necessarily how we'll be doing here because a lot is contingent on actions and reactions from the children. So as they come in, I'm looking and I'm evaluating. Is this child or these children, are they all with eyes of wonder and expectation and half smiling and such? That's going to cause a different response from me than if they're hiding behind mom and looking around and look a little fearful. And this is really with any child, but especially on this Century Santa morning. So as they come in, if they're hiding and such or struggling with eye contact, well, I know I don't want to give them too much eye contact because they're uncomfortable with that. So it might be I'm going to look up and then kind of look down and maybe slide down to the floor, reach in my bag and find a book, and then just kind of look up and a distraction. And or maybe, grab a ball and toss the ball over there. And before you know it, we're interacting in distractions from maybe the fear that's trying to creep up. So before you know it, we're down on the floor playing with toys. Well, that's an amazing opportunity for photos. And so the candid shots can happen. And then we're going to try to get a posed one too, but so that's in general the approach that would be happening there. So,
what role does Autism Speaks play in supporting these sensory Santa events?
Well, very good question. And of course, the answer to that is knowledge. Without the knowledge about the subject of autism and about what's going on, in general, it's a relatively new science of understanding in the last 20 years, really. So having the knowledge, how are companies like Cherry Hill programs and our Santas supposed to address something if we don't even know what it is that we're addressing? So awareness is the main thing Autism speaks to. And so what they're all about, and providing support for families, support groups, and then of course in our case, helping to sponsor and give direction to our malls, and also a liaison to the mall management and such, to work with them and get them on board. And as the mall is engaged, as the companies are engaged, then we can be truly successful. So the whole success starts with knowledge, and that's what you guys are all about, from what I understand.
Yes, it is. So can you tell me, what advice do you have for parents like me who really want to take pictures with Santa but are afraid to take their children to the mall because they have sensory differences or autism or any other diagnosis that can make it very difficult?
I certainly understand the fear and the tentative nature of going. You want that experience for your child, but yet you don't want to put them through something that's going to be traumatic, and it very much can be very traumatic situations that can happen. That's why so much thought and effort has gone into how we present these times, and when we do them, or an early morning, it's quiet within the mall, and also at any moment I would encourage parents, you know what, come and give it a try. You know, there's nothing says because you showed up and you sat at that table and you're waiting, if for whatever reason you determine this is too much, you just let them know, say, hey, you know, this is not a good day for us today, so maybe next time. So you always have that out. You're under no obligation to do anything that would make you or your child feel uncomfortable. And what advice would I give them? First, come. We're going to a lot of, we put a lot of effort into providing the right atmosphere. So come is the first thing. And when you do come, you know what? We've been doing this a while, and we love the children, and we want every one of them to have a very nice, magical experience. So when you come, take a few minutes off in your minds. All right, they got this. Trust us to do the right thing and to treat your child with the utmost respect and desire a very positive outcome for them.
And I can tell you, as someone who's been to one of these Sensory Santa events, I'm so glad I did. Did it go perfectly? No, but as a mom, I think it's so important, as a dad too, to try, because just like Santa Wet said, if it doesn't go as planned, it's okay. You're under no obligation to stay there, but you'll be so happy you at least tried. And I can tell you that there is a lot of effort that goes into these events. And for me, just knowing that I'm not gonna be judged because everyone there understands autism makes a big difference, and it made me a lot more comfortable going. So give it a shot, and I promise you won't regret it. So thank you so much, Santa Wed, for joining me today. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
Thank you again for inviting me to come and share and talk about this. And just to recap a couple of things. One is we truly do care about your children, and we would invite you come when the time comes, and you can find that out through your particular mall or through your Autism Speaks websites and social media. They will be putting that out there. So the first thing, determined to come. We would love to see you. Know that we are aware of some of the struggles that your children go through, but also some of the struggles that you yourself go through as a caregiver. And so this is an opportunity that we're here to help you with this and to help them have some of those magical experiences. And know that the Santas that are there that have had training to know how to act and react with your child. You mentioned something about nonverbal a while ago. There's several things personally that I do, and that is, one, I changed my approach and ask very few rhetorical questions or knowing that they struggle with the verbal, and it doesn't take but a second to know and to realize that. So my approach would then change from asking a question that I might, for some children, but I might do a distraction, pull out my book and say, oh, look at this. Do you see my book? Can you find the ball on the front of my book? And so they have opportunity to interact but not have to speak and verbalize. So they can find the ball and, oh, okay, that was good. Can you find the little horse? And before you know it, then maybe pull something else out, a few toys and things. So you find different ways to interact with them, even though they're not verbal, not a problem. So to sum it up, we are so happy that Autism Speaks speaks into Cherry Hill programs and work with the malls and mall management in order for us to work together to provide a magical experience for every child that comes through to see us.
And we are thankful for you.
Thank you so much.
So check out the link in the description, in the caption, to see if you have a Sensory Santa next to you. Chances are you probably do, so please go try it. You have nothing to lose. Thank you for listening today.